1,978, 1,979. Thanks to flowerbulbs.com for partnering with me on this video. Stay to the end to find out how you can win one of two $100 gift certificates. 1,980, 1,981 bulbs. Want to see what I'm going to do with them? I'm making a bulb lawn, or rather a bulb septic mound. But let's be honest, bulb lawn sounds much better. So yeah, my plan is to turn this big hill of nothing but grass into something beautiful, because why wouldn't you? I'm actually a little bit late to this bulb lawn party. In fact, very late if you take a look at what the Dutch have been doing, which has been planting something they call stinson plantains for centuries. But bulb lawns have been gaining popularity in other parts of the world, including the US, for several years now, for a lot of good reasons. Like, one, they're beautiful. Two, they're low maintenance. And three, they provide a fabulous source of food for early pollinators. In order to plant this bulb lawn, or mound, I'm going to be growing a variety of smaller flowering bulbs. Now, these will bloom over a period of several months, which is great because we want to get a long show out of this. But the small blooming part of this is really important. We're not talking about big Darwin tulips or large daffodils, because we want sort of smaller foliage, because I am going to need to leave the foliage standing for a bit after this is done before we'll be able to mow. So I'm planting a mixture of winter aconites, snowdrops, iris reticulata, crocus, Grecian windflower, grape hyacinth, guinea hen flower, botanical tulips, early snow glories, and mini daffodils called tete-a-tete. Now these are mostly deer resistant, and for the ones that are questionable, my hope is that since they'll be mixed in with so many things that are deer resistant, that the deer won't even bother getting near them. But we are going to do a few other things to protect these bulbs as well. So when it comes to picking out the bulbs that you want for yours, do whatever you want. You can plant a whole big variety like I did. You can limit it to just a couple of varieties. I chose bulbs that are mostly sort of white, yellow, and blue. I tend to really like those colors in spring. There's a few pinks thrown in there. Some people keep it very limited into a limited palette, which can have a little bit more impact. I kind of went all out and just said, let's just throw a whole bunch of stuff in there and see what happens. All of these bulbs should naturalize really well, which means they will grow and expand and get bigger and bigger and bigger throughout the years. You can start little by little and just add to it over the years, but it will also grow on its own. Now I've drilled several holes here, 850 or so, because I lost count several times. But I'm going to add just a few on the edges here, because right now I have a very clean edge, and what I want to do is kind of have these look a little bit more natural from the beginning and kind of look like they're, you know, starting to do their naturalizing thing. So I'm just going to throw in a few more holes here. This is the 3-inch by 28-inch power planter on a 20-volt drill. Now you don't need an auger to plant these. You can use any bulb planting method you like. You can use a bulb planter, trowel, soil knife, even a shovel. Whatever works best for you, you can certainly do with this. Now if you're wondering about planting something like this on a mound, by all means check with your septic company who maintains your septic system. But generally speaking, planting shallow rooted plants on a mound is a really good idea, and it's actually better if you don't actually compact them very often, such as with mowing. So the general rule with planting bulbs is that you plant them at a depth that's about 3 times the height of the bulb. But what do you do when you are planting bulbs of multiple sizes in the same hole at the same time? Well, you kind of take an average and you sort of fudge it. Here's the thing, you guys, bulbs are super resilient. They are very well adapting. They're very easy to grow, and they just aren't that fussy about stuff. So we're going to plant these at, I don't even know what I drilled most of these holes at. Some of these are at 2 inches, some are at 3 inches. Shallower is probably a little bit better to err on the side of, because bulbs have the ability to pull themselves deeper if they need to. But there are advantages to planting bulbs deeper, which includes not having animals come and dig them up, or sort of a winter protection situation. Anyway, we're gonna go with what we got here. Now, I have enough holes to plant, I think this averages out to like 2.25 bulbs per hole. So some of these holes will get 3 bulbs, some will get 2, but they're all getting tossed in. And that's the other rule that we're gonna break here, which is that, of course, you know that you should plant bulbs pointy end up, root side down. But if you think I'm gonna go through and place almost 2,000 bulbs individually, you would be wrong. We are chucking these in the holes. Bulbs are very easily adapting to their situation. Most will grow no matter which way you're putting them. Now I'm planting, what did I say, 1,981 bulbs. Do I expect there to be 1,981 flowers here next year? No, I do not. Because not everything is gonna work. So we're playing a little bit of a law of averages here, right? Like, we're gonna do our best. I don't expect all these to work, but we're planting in mass here. And the idea is that we're gonna get this done efficiently and quickly without a lot of trouble. We may sacrifice how some bulbs perform because we're not individually placing each one. And to me, that's totally okay. The next step is one that I almost never do with bulbs, and that is doing some fertilizer. So this is just an organic bulb fertilizer. And I generally don't fertilize my bulbs when I plant them, and that's because bulbs have everything they need. They are a full package. They have everything they need to flower and bloom and do their thing. But I decide that I'm gonna put some fertilizer on here because this is the easiest time to do it. This is a really quick time to just throw some fertilizer on there. Sort of an insurance policy, because I just spent all this time drilling all these holes and sticking all these bulbs in the hole, and it seems like this is one small little step I can do that might help a little in terms of having the healthiest possible plants so that they do a really good job naturalizing. So you only need to add about a teaspoon per hole of this bulb fertilizer. So I'm going to measure out 900 teaspoons. I'm kidding. If you think I'm measuring anything at this point, you would be wrong. No, I'm gonna throw some fertilizer in here and just kind of sprinkle it around. Not too heavy, we're gonna call it good. Okay, so we've planted the bulbs, we fertilized the bulbs, so what's next? Well, I have enlisted a little bit of assistance, raking everything over to fill in all those holes, because of course we need to get the dirt back in those holes. Now the next question you might be wondering about is, what do we do about critters? Because they are maybe cute, but sometimes, but a pain in the butt. And I'm not talking about deer and rabbits, because we've sort of solved that problem by generally planting varieties that are generally resistant to those. What I'm talking about here are things like squirrels, chipmunks, skunks. I have all of those, in particular squirrels and chipmunks. And as you know, they will dig up bulbs and move them. They're a real pain in the butt. Well, it turns out that these critters are actually more interested in disturbed soil than they are in actually getting to the bulbs, although they will pick up those bulbs and move them around, and who knows what they do with them. So what we need to do here is limit the soil disturbance. So the plan is, actually, since I have made a real big mess out of whatever the lawn was over here already, we're gonna actually put down some grass seed, a little bit of grass seed, which actually should be able to germinate and get going, so that should limit soil disturbance. So that's one thing. The other thing we're gonna do is water these in really well. The bulbs need water, the grass seed will need water. I'm gonna set up a sprinkler, we're gonna water these in really well. I will aim to water this in well, even though it's fall, so they don't need as much water as they might otherwise. Probably twice before we get to the point where the hoses are put away and we're into hard frost territory. I am also going to use a repellent. So this one is Repels All. This should work. It's a granular, so I should have about 3 applications in this jug, and I will try to space them out over maybe 3 weeks or so, depending a little bit on how much rainfall we get or things like that. I don't think that all these steps are probably necessary, but I go back to my insurance policy theory. I've spent a lot of time on this. I want these bulbs to do really, really well, so I'm gonna get them off to the best start I possibly can, and part of that is protecting it from these little varmints that run around the yard. Now, of course, the thing with bulb lawns is that you have to let the foliage die back a little bit. You gotta wait till it starts turning yellow. You don't have to wait till it's fully dead, but you have to wait till it starts turning yellow before you can mow again, which makes bulb lawns not really appropriate for every person. If you are really fastidious and you want a perfect lawn, probably not going to work for you, but maybe you could find a little corner where you want to do it, or maybe you could do a few sort of circles in your lawn. Get creative with it. So other than the watering and the animal repellent, there's not much left to do here. So now we just sit back and wait for the show to start. So I would expect the first bulbs to be out sometime in March, and we should have a show through May at least, maybe even into June. So Dorothy and I are excited to tell you that flowerbulbs.com is going to give 2 $100 gift certificates to a great bulb supplier to 2 people who watch this video. You need to be in the US. Well, you actually can be out of the US to win it, but they only can be delivered and shipped to the US. So you figure it out from there. All you need to do to enter is leave a comment below this video. I will put all the information about the giveaway in the description below, so check that out. All right, so go plant some bulbs, right, Dorothy? I think that's a yes.
Fall is here, hear the yell, back to school, ring the bell, brand new shoes, walking blues, climb the fence, books and pens. I can tell that we are gonna be friends. Yes, I can tell that we are gonna be friends. Walk with me, Susie Lee, through the park and by the tree. We can rest upon the ground and look at all the bugs we found. Safely walk to school without a sound. We safely walk to school without a sound. Well, here we are, no one else. We walk to school all by ourselves. There's dirt on our uniforms from chasing all the ants and worms. We clean up and now it's time to